Hey everybody, this is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. How you doing? We're doing a special episode on Fire in the Ways with the guys from Taka Run Riyadh, Joe and Tom. And of course, with me, as always, is the wonderful Aradia, who did a great job as Varen in the Varen on Trial thing. That was amazing. We should all give her a round of applause for that.
I am nervous about the verdict now. That's how much fun I had. I'm now nervous about the verdict.
Are you afraid that you're gonna end up punished? Is that like?
I guess the funny thing is that I don't think Varen care that much, but whatever. It's Aradia, the actor, very much cares that Varen get acquitted. So.
And Joe, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone.
Since you're taking a drink.
I'm Joe from Taka Run Riyadh, the Wheel of Time showcast. We do a podcast about really focusing on the production of the television show. So we talk a lot about the news that's come out for the week, and we also talk about like book topics and talking about like how they're going to adapt them to the show.
I'm Tom. I'm Joe's co-host on Taka Run Riyadh. Our third co-host, Jen, isn't on this panel. She was on a panel last night on Vince Viewings. Joe does all the hard work. He does most of the research and does all of the editing. I just show up and talk, which is the easy part.
You're like the color commentator.
Yes. I'm the John Madden of our show, I guess. Topical. That's a topical reference.
Yeah.
So,
now, to beat the Forsaken, he's going to want to kill all the Forsaken.
Exactly. It's that level of that quality that I bring to the show. So, and I'm glad to bring that here tonight.
Yes.
Yeah. So tonight we wanted to talk about Fire in the Ways, which I don't think any of us realized quite how much it was when we sat down to talk about it in a single episode. So we may brush over some of the finer details as we go into it. But basically, it's a chapter that Brandon Sanderson wrote to be in the last book. They decided it should be cut both for pacing and some continuity issues. He gave it some polishing and published it as a short story. It's not technically canon, but because, the timelines don't match up and characters die who don't die and stuff like that. But for the most part, it is... I think we can say the events around Cleansing the Ways can be considered canonical-ish. Would everyone agree with me on that?
I'll go with the ish.
Yeah.
right.
I sort of look at it as like Brandon Sanderson got to write fan fiction in his own world. So it's like the best, most canonically informed fan fiction, but it's just ish.
Yeah, and I think he said too, like when they decided to cut it, that he had to go back and like rewrite other parts because of the continuity issues and the, so it was interesting that, he had to go back and do all that work after they said, no, let's cut this. All right, so now I got to go do all this other work now.
There's a few passages in there that I feel like are duplicates from what's actually
they
in the
are.
book. Yeah.
Yeah, I recognized them. I'm
Yes.
like, oh, that concept, that conversation, that resolution, I recognize it.
He felt. I think he felt like the some of the character stuff was too good to leave out, even if the setting itself. But I think Seth, what you might be alluding to is like, for people who like to extrapolate, theorize and talk about like the metaphysical realities of the books, I think you can say the stuff that happens here, or the way they attack things, you can use as canon in making those theories, even if the stuff doesn't actually happen in the books proper, right?
I like that.
Thanks.
Yeah, no,
I'm done.
that's
Good night, everybody.
End on a high note. That's what they say. It's pretty quick to end on a high note, though. Let's see if we can get a little higher on that one. But no, that's exactly what I'm trying to say, is that the idea of cleansing the ways can be taken as canonical, even if this individual story is...
Right. It has to happen. I mean,
Right.
he makes the argument somewhere in there, like, this, not having this happen is weird for the story.
Right.
It's a huge plot hole. Like,
As Herod Phil says, up here, the ways are cleansed. Down here, they're not. So when you get back in the wheel, they've got to be cleansed again.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
sound.
Nice.
So chapter 1 is a whole list of names. Mostly, I sort of want to talk about the different groups rather than the individuals, but maybe talk about the individual channelers. That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's definitely the
Cool.
reacquainting you with everyone in the story passage.
Right.
Yeah, I like the evenness with which all the groups were represented. Like Perrin made sure, like, no, we have to have like the same amount of people from each group so nobody feels slighted or.
Yeah,
He's the forger. He's bringing them together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
very much. The touch of the blacksmith.
Yeah, I see Aiel, Giladanin, White Cloaks, and Channelers and their warders. So that's 4 groups of all.
And the Two Rivers Men. Don't forget the Two Rivers Men.
Oh, well, I mean, that's just Perrin and his guys. I mean,
Including Tam, by the way.
including-
That's we can't forget
yeah,
that.
I did miss that, actually.
Yeah.
Does he have very many lines in this? Doesn't...
No.
Not really. I think there's one line like toward later on when they are when there's the encounter with some Trollocs, I think maybe, but
Yeah,
I
mostly
was
he's like the
actually-
strong, silent, stoic.
yeah.
But like to the point, like when he talks, I'm like, how is Tam here this whole time? And like not been mentioned. I don't know. But yeah, I don't remember. Does Perrin count himself as part of the Two Rivers 10?
I
Or
don't
is it
think
10
so.
groups and
No.
he's like the 51st guy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because there's also the Ashaman and then there's 2 Aes Sedai and a Wise One. And I'm not sure if the Wise One, if she counts with the Aiel, to be honest with you. I'm not sure. They don't I think it's 10 Aiel plus Adara.
Right, because I feel
And
like the
warriors versus
Channelers are in a
channelers.
separate... Yeah.
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 Okay.
So Channelers, we've got Grady, Niald, which are the 2 Ashaman, Saren, who I feel like plays a pretty big part,
Mhm.
Cyanid, and I can't read my own handwriting. Adrada?
Adara is
Adara,
the
thank
Wise
you.
One. Yeah.
Yes.
And Cyanid's warders are there too. There's 2 warders.
Yes, and she's got 2. I
Yeah.
put WW, and I was like, World War? I forgot what. That's 2 orders, 2 Ws.
Yeah.
There you go.
And they go
And
through
you're right.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say you're right. Saren plays a big role in this story. She's
Mhm.
like the go-to channeler, I think, who probably plays the biggest part and has the most dialogue, I think,
Mhm.
out of all the other ones.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe except Grady and Niald, who Perrin always depends on those 2 and turns to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like Saren has like the most character stuff here. Like Grady and Neil are pretty like constant, like they are who they are.
Mhm.
She's the one who like gets explored. Like she has,
Right.
she's the one who talks about like how, hey, look, I'm not scared. I'm telling you flat out, like you can ask me to do this, it's not going to go well. Like that sort of a thing. It's like an interesting kind of behind the scenes, like behind the Aes Sedai mask a little bit.
Yeah,
What-
she's an Aes Sedai that plays a huge role, but we never get a POV from, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see her a lot, but yeah, this story lets us get a little bit more of her backstory and fill that in, and that I will totally take as canon. Everything that we get from her, that is
Mhm.
solid canon right there.
Yeah, right. And she's got Alviarin's little notebook that she's using, really, right, to guide everyone through this. So I would take that as canon too. I agree.
Yeah, no, and that's such a cool idea to be like, well, if the Dark Friends are moving through, they have to have. We saw the guide, we saw the book. Alviarin wasn't like making it up or using a spell. She had a notebook, right? Like that's a great. Anyone can use a notebook.
Yeah.
Seems- yeah. So even if it is just a little weird kind of map, I wonder how. I'm always really curious how the symbology of that symbology.
That's a word.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Boondock Saints has convinced me it's not. Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so I was curious, like, what she used, what kind of iconography. Jesus, I'm having some trouble tonight. That she used to draw those things out because geometrically it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about that. Like, how is it written in the book? Because it's not like you can draw a map in the ways because everything's like twisted and goes above and on top and around each other. So is it just like?
It's
I wanna
probably
say-
like a force diagram in introductory physics. It's probably like that.
I was thinking like, make a left at the first tree. When you see a rock that in the shape of a heart, turn right, then go over a bridge until you smell something funny.
Oh, that's the Trollocs. That was the Trollocs. Or, Adeline, but that's a whole different. So that basically gets to chapter 2. Chapter 3 is a little more dialogue with Saren and Perrin speculates that she's traveled the ways before.
He's right.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just headcanoning that. She totally did.
Right? She does. She never answers him, obviously, like directly, because she's nice to die. But yeah, I noticed that too, and I was like wondering, like, when would she have traveled the way? Like, did she just go out on a limb by herself or with some of the other sisters and like just check it out to see what it was like in the ways? Out of curiosity, her brown curiosity.
Right. Or did she just sort of do that thing where she stuck her head in and like looked around?
Oh yeah, that's a good point too.
I wonder
know.
if her saying like, "Hey, look, I can follow these directions. I can't, like, if we just try, I'm gonna get lost," is based on like knowledge. Like, hey, we went in here once and like it was like by the skin of our teeth we found our way back. Like, it's not gonna happen again. Like, I wonder, just based on that conversation, that's what led me down that path, I guess.
Yeah, I think
like, she's like, I'm not gonna tell you that I've done this before, but you gotta trust me. We shouldn't be just wandering around in here.
Right.
Yeah,
so she's explored. Yeah.
Her quote, her line was, "Only a fool would enter the ways. Everyone knows that." That's all she said when he asked her.
I didn't know you were calling yourself a fool. Okay.
Right. Yeah. I bet that she went in and like walked to the first island and then was like, "I'm gonna nope out because I can tell I'm gonna get lost," and like turned around and went right back out. So like she went in more than her head, but like, very carefully did not get lost.
I like that.
Yeah, there's one thing too in this chapter, right? Perrin tells Grady that if Machin Shin comes, don't wait for any orders, just attack it with everything you got, because he remembers that one time Rand had pushed Machin Shin back with the power.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important.
Yeah, because it doesn't work. It doesn't work when they try it.
Because I think Rand had access to unfiltered. It wasn't going through the ways already. He was outside the ways when he was channeling.
Oh,
right. He was drawing it from outside. And
that's right.
It was still tainted sighting.
Yes,
that's true.
But
this is the same, but different, but same.
Right.
Yeah.
It was only ×2, not ×4.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That Rand was outside shooting into the Waygate when that happened. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I was wondering why that distinction. So thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for.
Also, Rand is obviously a lot stronger than all the Ashaman, so that probably helped. But I prefer this explanation better because it's more not just big Taviran energy all over everything.
Yeah.
I love big Taviran energy, but it's everywhere.
It is.
That should be a T-shirt. Put that on a shirt, everybody.
Taviran energy, that means...
Oh, I borrowed that from other podcasts. That idea is out there.
Gotcha.
There's also like some conversations, right, with Galad and parents trying to convince him, like about channeling and how like the corruption of the ways is much worse than men channeling, and how they're trying to I guess the end justifies the mean things, and Galad like thinks that that's some fairly sound logic that he's willing to follow and continue on this journey with. But Galad then says something about, it would be more noble for the Ashaman to voluntarily be gentled, right? Instead of using the one power for good.
You just turn yourself in to be killed slowly. That would be the honorable decision. It's like, okay, Galad.
Galad needs to sometimes follow the logic of his rule following to its logical conclusion. Like, he needs a little more white in him, right? Like, he's a little too gray, a little too balanced scales, a little too like, this is wrong, that's right, making judgments. Whereas, like, I think he just needs to logically get to where that emotion takes him,
Yeah, you need morals in addition to just objective logic.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like, I feel like there's no humanity in his evaluations of things, and that's his flaw. But I also felt like in reading this, and I haven't read A Memory of Light in a while, so I didn't read them concurrently just for this purpose. But I felt like Galad was a little off. I feel like he had already at this point in the story started to get a little bit more human and less absolute, and I felt like it was back to Galad, I want to say mid series in his attitude here. He was a little bit off, I felt. And then maybe that just comes from like the roughness of it or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know if anybody else feels the same way.
I think he tried to balance that a little bit with him being like, "Hey, how do you become a wolf brother?" You know, and like that being weird and open about that, while at the same time being. Okay. That's why I agree that the balance was definitely off. I feel like we got two different gods here.
Right. Well, because this is very shortly / congruent with the point in the story where the trial happens and where Morghese is smacking Galad around and being like, "Yo, there's a world out there beyond your morality." So I feel like maybe we're getting this mix, this hot cold mix of him, because this is the same point in the story when he's going through that transition.
Right, because this is right after Dane has killed Bornhold, or Bornhold is right. Dane Bornhold, has killed Bayar.
Yes, this is after that. So Galad is definitely into that seismic shift, but I can see where there's two of him shifting in and out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's probably part of what Brandon had to go and rewrite, I guess, when they decided to cut this.
And that's one of those things where you can't exactly slot it in a timeline. You know, those things have happened for the characters, yes, but that doesn't mean it fits in the timeline. And actually, you know, it was really fun for me to see this and realize, like, oh, this is the kind of stuff that, like, Maria does. You know, she's all, like, timeline queen and making sure that this all falls into line and, you know, trying to fit, you know, he might have this scene here, but then trying to get it to fit into the books and then make sure everything else lines up with it so you have the right characters, the right places at the right times. Yeah, that's a lot of work. And it really shows in something like this where the work hasn't been done.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh, God. I don't envy Maria. although I do. Although I do so much.
Yeah, we all do envy Maria. I want that privilege.
Yeah, it's like, right, you're like, oh, that'd be awesome. And then, like, you know, you're actually there doing it, what she's doing. And then you're like, oh, man, what did I get myself into? What did I...
I really just envy her poise more than anything else. That's
could do with some of that.
No kidding. Oh, what do you think about the invisible bridge?
Oh, so badass.
Yeah. Right. And isn't there like a weight limit, right? Doesn't she say, like, no matter what, I can only hold, is it a weight limit or a size?
It's a length limit. I think no matter how much power, we can only go so far.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was weird, like, to put a limit on that, like, the amount, no matter how much power, you can only make it so long.
Well, it's because you can't fly, right? There's that hard limit where you cannot make yourself fly with the power. So there has to be a weight distance sort of constraint before flying is the definition of what you're doing.
Yeah, right.
Similar to gateways. Yeah, did I take the words right out of your mouth?
No, okay. But I like that one too.
Yeah, the gateways are determined very much by your strength and not and this is a hard limit. You can't get above that.
Yeah, unless you're Andrel.
Yeah.
But like, doesn't Rand like experience a similar thing when he goes to see the sea folk and he tries to make like the stairs up, and it's like he's in his head, he's like, hey, look, I hope I don't short this because I can only go so high.
Yeah, because Min walks with him and he's like, I wonder how confident she would be if one more foot would have turned this whole thing into mush.
Ooh.
She just walks up there with him. She has no idea that he's at his limit, right? And so same thing here. The channelers know what their limits are on the bridge. They know what they can do, but all of everyone else who's on a channeler is like, hold on.
Right.
And I mean, they don't know the limits, but
imagine being that non-channeler crossing that bridge of air. You know, I when I was reading this, I immediately thought of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where he has to take the leap of faith, and he's just walking on, like, you know, the invisible bridge.
It's very that.
And it's dark, and it's dark too. It's not only like there's an invisible bridge, but it's dark. So he's like, okay, I'm just gonna walk along this and hope that nothing happens, especially for the White Cloaks.
Yeah, I definitely, like, when Bornhold went across it, I was like, is this the moment when he becomes a lovable character? And no, he dies by the end, but
well, he almost dies here.
He tries really hard to die in this whole thing.
It does.
I
Bornhold.
Locked my roommate out. I'll be right back.
Awkward.
Live television, people.
I guess. Well, he's got. I'll mention that because I thought it was a cool little, like, action scene in the middle of the story here, like, you know, Bornhold almost falling and then Perrin almost falling to catch him, and then like I like the whole setup. It was maybe a little, you know, cliche, I guess, I don't know, but I thought it was done very well here.
Yeah, I agree. It had the feel of a well-done cliche. I'm like, you have to have Perrin chucking himself off the edge to almost die, saving the guy who wanted to kill him. Like, you can't write this scene and not have that.
and is part, was kind of responsible for his family dying.
Right.
But yeah, that's just Perrin though.
Yeah,
That's just Perrin.
I blame Fane.
Yes.
Yes.
And,
for sure.
Oh yeah, of course it's Fane.
Yeah, I mean, he was there and he saw it, but Fane was the one who did the murder.
Instigating madness.
There's some good Fane talk coming up too in the next chapter.
It's true.
So where are we? Sorry, since I stepped away, are we doing 4 or 5?
I guess 4 is next.
4 next. Okay. Yeah. No, I mean that's just.
We get some bonding between the different
bonding.
groups, right?
The only thing I really took about that is Perrin talking about going into the Teleron Riyadh in the flesh, and how she talks about going there too strongly is evil and you lose yourself. And I'm gotta wondering if something about the double soul gives him like an anchor in the real world, so he can go to the world of dreams and come back.
Yeah, they never say, like, they just say it's like a thing of the shadow and you lose part of yourself, but that you'll never explain. There's never any explanation of like what exactly happens when you do that. I mean, Rand does it all the time.
Yeah.
And the Forsaken do it all the time.
And Egwene does it once.
That's right. And obviously Slayer, but
And Rand starts to get the cold smell that Slayer has.
Oh, does he?
What? He does. Fuck, you're so right.
Yeah. Like
I always
Rand
figured it was an
does-
LTT thing, but
Rand does lose like a bit of himself probably from doing that.
Mhm.
But Perrin does it, right? So you might be right, Seth. There might be something with his the wolf brotherness or whatever it is that's like a protection for that, because there really is no negative impact to it. He doesn't like become more cold-blooded or more like savage or anything like that.
That's right, because Rand is using the power to do it. He's creating a gateway. Perrin's just doing it by like force of will. So I wonder if that's
it's natural to him rather than brought.
Right. Whereas the wise ones see it as something that, when done with the power, is very unnatural. Whereas Perrin himself is a natural wolf brother. That's something that naturally happens. And dreamwalking as a wolf brother is a natural process, and therefore not QED, not evil, right? Because that's what evil is in this world, is non-natural processes.
So that does beg the question of what the end result happened to Gaul after the last battle, because he spent weeks in the dream, because he goes through a gateway.
Yes.
Well, weeks in our time, but only about a day in his time, because he's right near the boar.
Really? It's only a day?
Maybe, I mean, a couple days, but he himself isn't in there all that long, because he's right in Shale Ghul, and time is passing so swiftly.
That's very fair. Yeah.
That's right.
Perrin's like wakes up and he's like, oh, I gotta go rescue him. But he's only been there for like an hour, and I've been asleep for like 2 days.
Right, yeah. Gaul is like, what? I was just starting to wonder when you'd pick me up. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's cool. I always figured that the wise ones were just wrong, and that the whole like you lose part of your soul thing is just them misunderstanding the distorted legends. But that thing about Rand smelling cold and Perrin getting in through not gateways, like,
that's a good catch.
Headcanon shift.
Do the wolves ever enter in the flesh? Do we ever get wolves entering Teleron Riyadh in the flesh?
Well, no, because they live there whenever they go to sleep, right?
I guess, yeah.
They kind of exist in both at the same time, right? Like,
yeah.
Right.
I wonder if he's got some sort of wolf protection or something.
Yeah.
Right. Wolves can't do what Perrin does, right? They don't have that. They aren't part human. They're just all wolf, right?
Right.
So I think only wolf brothers have that. Like maybe Elias or Elias, however you want to pronounce his name, maybe he could do it too. Although I doubt he's tried. But
he said he stays away from that sort of thing.
Yeah, he just noped.
He noped to Teleron Riyadh. He's like, that's a dangerous place. I don't go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that no wolf could step into the real world. No wolf could just weave balefire.
That's true, yeah.
Awesome.
That'd be pretty awesome if they could.
It would be very cool.
Yeah, try and balefire a wolf, and they're like, no.
So there was something else in this chapter too that struck me is right. Perrin's talking to Galad, and he's and Dane's muttering the name Ordith, which is Fane. And Perrin wonders if is it possible that like Fane gave him something, or kind of like a similar thing that would happen with Matt and the dagger, like if there was something of like I guess Mortive passed on to him. So I it made me think about that. I never even thought if Fane could pass that curse kind of thing to somebody else.
Well, he strongly influences White Cloaks to become dirty, nasty followers of him, which is maybe cult of personality, maybe evil stuff. But then what he does with the Trollocs and everyone with Mashadar at the end makes me think that he is slowly over time manifesting the ability to just get people. But he didn't have that at the beginning. Like, it changes, like Bubbles of Evil, right? Bubbles of Evil are very specific at the beginning and very broad by the end.
Yeah,
Right.
I thought of those guards in the beginning of Faldara, the two guards that he corrupts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
That's what I kind of thought of. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what he does with the White Cloaks in the Two Rivers, is create that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And
So I
certainly
guess
Bayar
this
is corrupted. I feel like in the actual book, he doesn't have Dane corrupted. And that's why Dane kills Bayar. You know,
Yes.
so this feels different from the books in that, like, it really does feel like in this canon, Dane has been corrupted by Thane. And in the other one, in the actual books, I think he left that out and just had Bayar be the corrupted one, and then Bornhold has to kill him to save.
Yeah.
But in this telling, if he's corrupted, he wouldn't have killed.
Right.
So, but he did in this.
Hence
He did.
timeline weirdness.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 I mean,
Yeah,
it didn't
the
take
roughness.
much to corrupt Bayer either, so.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
Bayar was
it wasn't-
probably already crazy, just not that.
I mean, we see
Wait.
that he's medicinally drinking while on a battlefield mission, so he's got
Yes.
some
Right.
stuff going on.
Galad
and-
throws his flask over
I
the,
love that
over
scene.
the
He
bridge.
just, you can have one drink,
Yes.
and now we're
There
done.
you go.
It's your last one.
Well, and his
Enjoy it.
descent into alcoholism is a wonderful, because like in the first scene with him, he's like, alcohol's evil. Or no,
Right.
wait, or am I thinking of the Dark Friend, Boars? They
Yeah,
both descend to
Oh, Carradine.
alcoholism. Yeah.
Yeah, they both descend into alcoholism because bad things.
Which
Yeah,
is it's like go
Totally
ahead, Tom, sorry.
unrelatable.
Yeah.
What?
I do think Bornhold in general has, like, as a minor character, a supporting character to a supporting character to a supporting character. But I think he's got a great character arc.
Mm-hmm.
In the book proper, it's a redemption arc. Like, he hits rock bottom and then comes out of it. Whereas in this story, that wouldn't be the case. Like,
No.
he hits rock bottom and then digs. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I like this. That's one change I'm glad that this didn't make, because I like that for him, that he kind of sees hope and sees opportunity to get better. you
He
know?
kind of carried on his father's legacy because Jephram wasn't really a bad guy. He was just kind of caught up in his, like, I guess his I don't want to
Just
say
following orders.
Nah, I wouldn't even say that. I think he really believed in, like, a lot of what the White Cloaks were about, but he was like kind of like a good man at heart, but he just kind of got caught up with all the the nonsense of the White Cloaks teachings and things like that.
Right.
Because he was like, when you got point of views from him, right?
And then, yeah, and,
In
the
the,
Great Hunt.
From
in the Great
Jeff-
Hunt, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
We
yeah.
do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he
He's
didn't
one
seem
of
like
the
He's
good
a
evil,
reasonable,
evil good.
yeah.
Yeah, he's disgusted by the really bad White Cloaks.
Right.
he doesn't
Carradine,
like
right?
them.
Carradine.
Right. Well, Carradine and the questioners in
Questioners.
general.
Yeah.
Like, he
Yes,
doesn't
yeah.
agree with that
Yeah.
part of what they do. He does think that Aes Sedai are witches, and I think that's
And he has no
bad,
problem.
but-
And yeah, he's a little okay with torture.
he is.
Oh, yeah.
Just not that much torture.
But it's in the name of the light,
Right.
Yeah.
so
don't enjoy it.
Torture for a reason. He's not into indiscriminate torture.
I almost
Right,
torture for a
right.
good cause.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's a good White Cloak. Okay.
He's like a
Yes.
dirty Harry, right?
Yeah. That's a good little one. Go ahead. Make my day. Yeah. No.
Definitely no parallels to the arguments I made during Baron on trial here.
There was also too about, like, we were talking before about entering Teleron Riyadh in the flesh, and Perrin was talking about, he goes into like detail about, like, if you go there too strong in the flesh, you can die in the real world.
And he does when he's dreaming, and he tries to go there too strongly and doesn't leave his body, or leaves his body behind. He can die. Like, I think that is a risk.
Right.
Yeah.
When he's in the flesh, he can't make himself much stronger. He's already as strong as he can be, right? Because his whole self is in the world.
Yeah, but he wants to be as strong as Slayer is there, so he's like, he's like taking risks just for that reason.
Right, right.
Huh. Yeah. Interesting stuff too.
Well, let's go to Gaul doing the hanging finger crawl.
Oh my god. This is so
this,
awesome.
yeah. This is so badass.
Yeah.
So cool. But then he blushes at the
yeah.
end, and it's like, no, I actually was totally.
He's
like-
totally showing off for the,
Oh,
for the
absolutely.
maidens.
when Perrin makes that joke, are you showing off the maidens? No, why would I be showing off the maidens?
And the maidens are like, we're not impressed.
No, we're not
distinctly.
impressed at all.
Look at how not impressed we are.
He's just totally crazy though. Like what? That's just insane what he does.
Yeah,
He's
absolutely
Aiel
insane.
Ninja Warrior. That's what that is. That's
Yes. Like I wouldn't do that with a 2-inch drop under my feet.
Right.
I'd be afraid I'd hurt my ankle. He's like, yeah, the infinite abyss. It's fine.
Right. I'm depending on the strength in the tips of my fingers to avoid
my hands
the
are
most
strong.
horrific death I can possibly imagine, falling eternally to a starvation death. Yeah.
Right. Well, you got to figure. You fall. You go. Okay. Hopefully, there's something underneath me, and it's like 15, 20 seconds. You got to go. Well, I got the spears. Like this is.
Doesn't Perrin also like remark that like he thinks if Gaul falls, he'll know Gaul won't say a word.
Totally.
He'll just fall silently,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll never. Perrin wouldn't know what happened to him because he's like Gaul won't give us away. He'll just fall silently, and we'll never see him again.
Yeah.
Right.
And we all are like nodding. Yeah.
Absolutely in
well.
character. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then he just casually kills 4 Trollocs. Oh yeah, I took care of the scouts. No problem. Yeah, no problem. No problem. Yeah, no. Gaul is written by Sanderson to be one of the baddest of badasses.
Yes,
definitely. Like he ups his badassery quite a bit, and
You could tell he had fun with it. Yeah,
And it works. It's not like the character voice changed or the behavior changed. It's just you get more of him. He's more saturated.
Yeah, I guess that's one of the things I like about Sanderson too. I guess Telmanus and Gaul and like a lot of the sort of sidekicks get some extra looks. Andral, these sort of minor characters. He was like, to put my own voice in here, I'm going to look at some of the characters that maybe Jordan had but didn't develop quite as much, and then we get these great characters that are Sanderson characters.
And don't feel forced, right? He wasn't trying to live up to Robert Jordan. He was fleshing out his own thing.
Right.
It's good too. That was excellent by Sanderson too, because he knew that these are like all fan favorite characters too, like Gaul and Telmanus and Andral. Well, Andral he created himself. I don't think that was a Jordan
He was
character.
mentioned before, but he wasn't much of a character.
Okay. Yeah. So he hit all the right notes when he picked these characters to like give them a little bit of extra screen time in the books, and it worked really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't help like comparing it to like a D&D quest. Like if you're hanging out with like an epic level character and you've been traveling with them as they've become epic, like you almost by default have to become a very high level character yourself. Right. It's like, well, I was around when we killed that giant monster, so you're gonna get most of the XP, but I'm gonna get some of it. And like, hey, now I'm like 17th level or whatever. I'm getting very D&D, and I'm sorry if people don't like that, but right, but like that's what it is. Basically, like you turn around and Gaul's like, hey, I was just in all of these battles with you, and like also survived and killed people. So like, yeah, now I can hang by my fingertips and like silently kill 4 monsters, and that's the best part. I do think, and again, maybe.
But he's earned it too with the Aiel training.
Yeah, that's true. Like he's already starts here. It's not like he has to like go from the rock bottom up. But like, I think Gaul recognizes some of the, and this is something that I think all Aiel do, but like the other people don't necessarily. He recognizes, hey, sound, light, all of this stuff is dampened in the ways. Like I don't have to worry about necessarily killing these people as silently as possible. No one's gonna hear them as long as I'm quiet about it, right? So, while as Perrin's like, well, how did you even do that? Like he's like, we're so far away, you can't hear me. If I'm like, I think that's another credit to him, I guess. Like he just knew, like, he knows, like I could do this, take care of these two. As long as I'm quiet about it, no one's gonna know.
And you see him figure that out instinctively in Teleron Riyadh when he's fighting.
I was gonna point that out.
Yeah.
That he totally like this is foreshadowing for how quickly he picks up how to use Teleron Riyadh to a degree that we really only see other Aiel use. We see some of the wise ones in the battle for Tar Valon using the similar tricks of camouflaging themselves. No other dreamer ever thinks of that. Gaul figures it out in like the first 10 minutes.
Right.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I really do think the fading into the rocks is like they do it kind of instinctively anyway, so it just like adds this layer of like you think of yourself as it's like this instinctive I'm gonna fade into the rocks, and then they literally fade into the rocks.
Oh my god! And I love that like Gaul's like, oh wow, I'm rock colored now. Cool.
Cool. Cool.
Right, and what is it? Bornhold starts right. Bornhold thinks he hears people screaming, right? In this chapter, but what do you think that is? Like, it's because Perrin listens and he doesn't hear anything. So if Perrin doesn't hear it, then it's not really there.
So here's my chain.
Go ahead.
Thane and the Black Wind encountered each other at the end of Eye of the World.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
beginning of the Great Hunt, whatever you want,
Yeah.
Thane corrupted in this timeline Bornhold. Bornhold and the Wind are connected because Bornhold has been corrupted by Thane, who has part of the Black Wind in him. So he can hear the Black Wind, even though, and he's sort of hearing the voices of the Black Wind just because he's got that connection through Thane.
I like that. That's good.
Ooh, that's
That's
really
right.
good.
Yeah, that is right at the end of the Eye of the World, right when they go to Faldara. Fane gets stuck in there, right?
And that's why the
that's
Black
good.
Wind tracks Rand, because the Black Wind picks up that little bit of Thane that's been tracking Rand. So whenever Rand tries to use the Waygate, the Black Wind is like right there waiting for him.
That's right. It's attuned to him because Fane's been like attuned to the three boys.
Right, and
Rand,
Fane says that he talked to some of the voices, and some of them like were afraid of him. Some of them worked with him. So I like what you're saying, Seth, because I was thinking, well, clearly Bornhold's madness is somehow pinging on like the psychic field of the Black Wind, for lack of a better word. But I couldn't think of why Bornhold was a special for that. But the fact that Fane literally talked to the Black Wind,
Right.
and then in this timeline communicated with or tainted Bornhold,
Right.
like.
He's literally
That works.
tainted with some Black Wind, literally.
Yeah, so the Black Wind is like it's pinging, and they're like, "Oh God, I like that."
I wonder what that conversation was like.
That's so sweet.
Tasty.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to hear. The Black Wind talking to Fane, having a conversation, having a cup of coffee.
So, how many souls did you kill today? Oh, only about 200. Oh, really? I got about
Any of
300.
the sweet human souls, all I've got is bitter, acrid,
Yeah,
Trolloc souls.
These Trolloc souls. And they both hate the Trolloc souls. They both think they're disgusting.
Yeah.
They're just sitting there being like, "Ugh, I mean, it's food, but
Yeah, everyone agrees.
Yeah,
Trollocs
everyone
are
agrees.
terrible tasting.
Right.
Probably even Trollocs agree that Trollocs are terrible tasting.
Right. They won't. It's a last resort for them.
Yeah.
Do we ever get Trolloc? Do Trollocs eat each other sometimes? I don't
Oh
remember.
yeah,
yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, they do. Okay.
Yeah, they drag away their own dead for food.
Yeah, they're like
Okay.
the one evil guys that actually do remove their undead from the battlefield, but it's not to hide their numbers; it's to eat.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which I mean, yeah, and that's they bring their own food supply with them. They herd people, and then I think there's a couple of scenes where they basically resort to cannibalism because they don't have supply lines to cross
Gotcha.
vast distances.
Right, and they're
Yeah.
also happy to fight with each other. It's not
Right.
like dead Trollocs are hard to come by, even in
That's
the
true.
army.
Reminds me a little bit of the Koloss of the just like constant fighting and killing each other. Not so
Oh,
much
yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, the Brutish army always fights with itself when it's not doing something to the protagonist. That's just how the Brutish army trope works, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's why they
Right,
needed, right? The Murgel can control them, I guess, to kind of keep order too. So.
The Aiel almost kind of fall in that category as fighting among themselves when not under a united front.
Yeah.
That's unfortunately true.
They kind of
they
are
just-
a mob,
At least they don't eat each other though. So.
This is true. But there are myths about them eating each other.
That's true. Yeah, that's.
Oh, that's right.
The sea
Yeah.
folk are like, so you eat your dead, right?
Maybe
No,
the red.
is it-
Maybe the red veld ones do.
Doesn't the Sea Folk ask Avienda like how can you have any men if you have to kill one every year on your birthday? Like how do you still have men? Like I don't
Right.
understand.
Oh yeah,
like,
no, it's Avienda thinks the sea folk eat their dead.
Oh, okay.
That was how the dead eating thing goes.
Gotcha.
Ah.
Wrong in either case, but
Yeah. But at the same time, I could see someone being stuck at sea, with no
That has
wind,
been
no
known to happen.
supplies. Like cannibalism happens at sea. Like it's not unknown, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's not a custom either.
No, certainly not. Certainly not. But you can see how like maybe an incident turned into a rumor, which turned into,
Right.
rumor turned into myth, which turned into legend. And
It was turned into a
legends
best-selling
are long.
fantasy series.
Right. Yeah. So they encounter a group. They see this, speck in the light, speck in the dark, and they realize it's this big bonfire with with a bunch of Trollocs and 2 Fades around it. What is it? 100 Trollocs? 200 Trollocs?
120 Trollocs and 2
Trollocs.
Murgel.
Right. 2 more draw.
So
And
60
bins
per
of people.
fist. Yeah.
Yes, captives.
Dinner.
Yeah, or dinner.
Right. It's the other white meat.
Right.
People.
And a snack.
What do you call people who live in Camelin?
Cameliners.
Camonites?
Cameliners in the book, but I don't like it.
Cameliners.
Oh,
I
is it
call them
Cameliners?
Andoran.
Andoran,
I
yeah.
tried to,
So like Andoran, it's what's for dinner.
Ooh, yes, that works.
Oh, wait, I want to read Ogier's comment. All right, Ogier Tendency is asking, I wonder what would happen if a gateway from Mashadar opened from Shadar Logoth. Wait, okay, let me reread that. I wonder what would happen if a gateway from Mashadar infested Shadar Logoth because you had an open wait gate. Would Mashadar be able to enter? If so, what would happen between Mashadar and Moshan Shin? How would those two?
Fireworks.
That's like a celebrity death match right there.
well, Mashadar is the other evil, right? It's as opposed to the dark one as it is to the light.
Yes.
Whereas the Black Wind is very much a manifestation of the taint on the true source.
Yes.
So they would fight. They would not team up. They would definitely fight. I'd probably mutually annihilate each other.
We see that evils attract, and
yeah.
Would they even be able to affect each other though?
It would be like the cleansing.
Because there's no soul, right? Match and Shin eats the souls of people.
Mm-hmm.
The Mashadar doesn't have a soul, right? Would it just like not? Would they just kind of like?
Don't they both eat souls? Right? Tasty souls, crunchy souls. Like, isn't that what Mashadar says?
Mashadar doesn't say anything, but it does eat
Sorry,
souls.
Mashin Shin.
Oh, it does eat souls.
But I think Ogier's question is answered by the cleansing. The cleansing is running the entire taint through Shadar Logoth, and the mutual evils mutually annihilate.
Right.
So presumably it would be slower if you did it with a gateway.
Yeah, or they repel at least, right? At the very least.
I wonder why it would be really interesting if you opened that gateway in Shadar Logoth and like watched the mist try and flow in.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know if it could even cross that boundary, because Shadow Spawn can't cross the boundary without dying, but Mashadar is dead.
Yeah.
But it came about in that space, right? Soaked into those stones, into those streets. So like, could it really like hold if it went like 200 miles away to a non-tasted city? Maria. I know, right?
well, right? Well, Fane has Mashadar with him at the end. So it comes out of Shadow Logoth.
It's a piece of him, yeah.
Right, he's re-manifesting it because he has the dagger and his Ordeath infested soul.
Right.
So
and
he's able to regrow it.
And he's different. He's Mashadar with a conscience. Or not consciousness.
An intelligence.
A consciousness. Whereas Mashadar, the mist, has no consciousness, but Fane infests it and they merge together and become something new.
Right, because as far as we know, Mashadar can't leave Shadow Logoth, right? There's no way it can leave. Right. So I guess that rule would still apply. It wouldn't be able to go through the gateway because it would be leaving Shadow Logoth. I don't know.
But presumably the post-Fane, engineered Mashadar 2.0 would probably have more travel abilities.
Although he does say he wants a place to settle in and establish himself and put down roots. Like, that is something Fane is looking for.
He's a homebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
he's
an introvert. What do you know? He's just...
That's why he really killed everyone.
Right.
Leave me alone!
Too many people in this city. Everybody dead.
He just wants to remodel his Shadow Logoth.
And he wants to do it in Sheol. He wanted to do it at the Boar, at the thinness, and so that was going to be this place of power where his corruption was going to be not just local, but able to infest the thinness of the Boar and infest everything through that.
Yeah. So, and Aradia, when you said this before, it made me think of a question. So about the, Match and Shin's manifestation of the taint, right? So that the fact that the taint is cleansed, right? We know with male channelers, it doesn't retroactively like heal their madness, obviously. Right. So is there, obviously there's a way to cleanse the ways.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think after the taint's cleansed, the ways would continue? If they weren't cleansed, would they continue to deteriorate, or would it like stop because the taint is cleansed?
I think it would continue to deteriorate. I think Machin Shin has too much life force, souls, sentience. I don't think it's going down just because its dad died, so to speak.
And like the taint is cleansed now, but it's not like male channelers are constantly feeding the ways. It was created then with tainted Sidin. That's it. That taint is what's grown into Mash and Shin. So it's just exists. I do think that this gives you a through line to say they're going to clean the ways up. Like they have ways to do it. They give you a few different options, I think, kind of like of how it can be done, or maybe done in conjunction with other pieces of it. To the point where like early on, where they're talking about like when people are pointing out to Perrin, like this is really like Tel'aran'rhiod. Like you know like I'm like, is he gonna figure it out right now? Like, hey, wait a second, I can like use my wolf brother powers to like kind of manipulate this space. Between that and what happens, well, let's not spoil what happens in a few chapters. But, like,
Spoilercon, are you aware? Like the words "let's not spoil this" cannot be muttered.
Yeah, between that and the Ogier coming later, and their ability to combat it, like I think it basically says like when they win, like they're just gonna come back and take care of this. So, you know, and Perrin talks about that. He talks about how like, sure, there's gateways, but like normal people don't have the resources to use those, right? They're so hard to do that it's going to be basically for people who have money or power or both, right?
You at least have to go to the airport, right? To like get on a plane.
Yes.
Right.
Gateway stations.
But if this could work the way it's supposed to work, like it could be for just people to use.
Yeah, you can just take carts through the gateways and like carts and horses, and or the new steam powered, you know, horseless carriages that they're working on, right? Yeah, those would be great in the ways.
Because there's no actual power associated with going through the ways. It's just faster walking.
And literally, the opening it is taking the leaf and going, dook, like
my
any
fingers.
moron can do it. Yeah, it burns. Got it.
Okay, yeah, good. I thought that was interesting. That's why I asked, because it hit me when I was reading this about that. So,
I think of it, as a parallel of the cleansing of the madness, where like even though the cleansing is over, everyone's still mad because the taint on their mind still exists.
Yes. Oh, definitely. I just wasn't sure if it correct but the Ashaman, they don't continue to get worse because they're so they're like kind of stuck at there. So this is more like a virus that's mutated almost, where it's like it's a new level and something else has to be done to fight it.
Although I do kind of think of the healing processes might be similar. The way Nynaeve like pulls back one hook at a time, you can see the Ogier kind of doing that and like healing the darkness away one way gate at a time, something like that.
Yeah, I really liked that part of the ending that we actually got a brief vision of what the ways without Machin Shin looks like, and like this hope that like someday the ways will be just a bizarre space rather than terror incarnate.
Yeah.
And now I'm sorry, but like you mentioned something about the cart, and we totally blew past it. But like in the beginning of this story, when they go through the university, there's like there's a guy doing some sort of like experiments with, I guess, electricity or whatever the case may be.
Oh yeah.
And like I felt like it was supposed to be like an allegory for somebody. Like it was supposed to, like I almost felt like it was like this is Tesla or this is Edison, like in this world or something like that. But I didn't get it. Like I felt like it was like on the tip of my tongue, but for my brain. I don't know if anybody else like even or just thought, hey, no, that's just a guy. But like I felt like they were very descriptive about this one person for some reason, and I just didn't get what it was. I don't know if you. And I'm sorry, we're jumping back.
Yeah. No, we're all going. What? He. I thought of it just more as Sanderson showing the continued progression of the schools, right? You see the steam engines, and now you see, this is him showing off electricity, and now we've discovered, like, all of these advancements are happening really quickly, and that's going to produce the future, and, like, in Avienda's vision, we saw the glowing, the light bulbs, basically.
Right.
And that's what he's working on here, so.
Yeah, I definitely always saw it as Brandon Sanderson's ability to do fan service to all of the experiments that we saw once. He's like, okay, now see them again and see how far they progress. So you get a sense of like the progression of engineering history, but I didn't see any individual scientists or engineers.
It's the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, over the course of like 18 months or something. It's fine.
Sure, yeah, quick yeah. So they come up, right? This is where things start to get interesting too.
Yeah, because here
more interesting.
The red veils pop out, which in this
I thought they were fucked. When I got to that, I was like, we're fucked. We're done. They're dead. They're all dead. I know they're not dead, but they're dead.
Yeah, you don't expect when that's right. They come out and you think like this doesn't happen the way you think it's going to happen when they first come out.
You're
Totally,
like, fight,
totally different.
Fight! And I'm like, no, what's this white thing? Which I think
Yeah.
has all sorts of interesting implications about the summoning of. First of all, they're able to use a white light, which none of the other channels are able to use until they get the sing-song thing. So that has to be something to do with their link to the Dark One.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that right there. Or is, yeah, so at first I was like, is this Balefire?
I
But
don't think so.
No,
I didn't think so either. It's a little bit descriptive of Balefire, but you're right. But I didn't even think about that. Like, they're able to channel without kind of like a tainted effect on it while they're in the way. So I didn't even think about that. Like, how are they able to do that?
Maybe it was the true power.
It could be the true power. Or it could be, we see all the other channelers with a filtered connection.
Oh, like the
that
cord?
makes more sense.
They have a cord?
The cord, yeah. Although I
Yeah.
do like that maybe they did a little true power, because true power and Mashin Shin maybe attract. But it's not Mashadar, so it wouldn't.
Yeah,
have
no,
that sort of-
I like the idea that they had shielded channeling better, because like the true power is the essence of the Dark One. He can't exactly be checking on every single red veil. Like, hey, do you need to summon Machin Shin?
Right,
Need me to
right.
help?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't think they would get access, because not even
Yeah.
all the Forsaken get access to the
exactly,
true power.
Right,
So,
exactly.
right.
The shielding
So-
makes more, or the filtering makes
The
more
filtered,
sense.
yeah, definitely.
so do you
Guys,
think
I gotta
all
say,
of the...
cloaks are hot? I mean,
Dude,
Oh, yeah.
I know.
I am sweating.
I know. That's why I'm not wearing mine. I have it on my chair. But,
So do you think all of like the Dreadlords get that filter? Well, at this point, the channel,
Yeah.
obviously the taint's gone. So,
Well, sure. Yeah.
but
I'd say
prior,
before
I guess
that, yeah.
prior to that.
I would say
Yeah, I
so.
think-
The Dark One cannot have madness like.
So,
I would
so
say
do you
all the
think
red veils.
you think Taim had it? You think Taim had it the whole time?
Oh.
Well, see, I don't. This is the thing. I don't think Taim was a Dark Friend until he was rescued.
Okay, that's a good question too. Like, at what point did he become a Dark Friend?
Right. So I
Although
think,
he's old, right? So it seems like he's been channeling for a while, and this could explain why he's been okay and not been crazy, because he's had that protected.
yeah. So I will
Sadim.
have a counterpoint for you.
Okay, go.
I was discussing this in a podcast recently, and I looked up a word of Jordan, and apparently Rand looks at him and says he looks old. He looks like he's 40. Jordan says he's actually 29.
Really?
Ooh.
I remember that
Absolutely.
discussion, and it's so weird.
It's so
That's-
weird. So it was
that's-
like, Taim we always thought was much older than he actually is. Jordan said
15
no.
years
He's
channeling.
like no. He's actually, that whole 15 years channeling is a Rand misconception, because
Oh.
he looks at him and sees him as older than he is.
Curse
I
that
always thought he
unreliable
was in his
narrator.
30s. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like 29, 30, right? So that,
Oh.
and since you can not start channeling till you're 25, 26, 27, like
Especially with men.
yeah, like
He wouldn't have slowed that much, so he should. Yeah. It's weird. Yeah. He would. You think he would look younger, but he doesn't.
right. Well, it's
If he had
it's
a hard
aged him.
life beforehand,
Right. And
Yes, he
maybe
could just be a
channeling
naturally-
tainted power did that to him.
And
Yeah.
maybe Rand really wants to see him as older for whatever
Yes.
reason. I mean, we hear about we hear about false dragons in general when Rand is still like little baby Rand and hasn't left the Two Rivers yet. So in his mind, right, like these guys are big, scary adults out in the world. So maybe that adds just that little bit of
Okay.
unreliableness.
I didn't even know that. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
I didn't
see.
either. I mean, honestly, I encountered it only because I was doing the podcast, and I was like, how old is he? And I Googled around, and I was like, Jordan says he's 29? What? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I know.
No.
I had to
It's only a couple of
completely
years older.
reassess what I thought about Taim.
And that
Oh,
does
well.
back up then the idea that he was not a Dark Friend until he was broken out
Right.
and was like, well, you can die now or you can sign up.
Right.
Like it
And-
fits better with that.
And
He
he
has no problem
swore
signing
the oaths to the Dark One at that point.
Right.
Right, because I think he was probably always, like Elida or like Jeffrey Bornhold. Like, he's not necessarily a good guy. He just
No.
wasn't evil. So it was probably like, well, I was going to be an ambitious, backstabbing asshole anyway. So like, why not add some evil? It's fine.
Yeah.
Right. Just sprinkle some
Huh.
evil on him. Let's get out of here, Johnson.
He already tried to be the Dragon Reborn. Like at this point, it's all in
Yeah,
on your life decisions, right?
He's already
would say-
tried to be the evilest person in history, so
Yeah. I guess I would we also have to think about at what point, right? Because I think we found out in Jordan's notes that originally he was Demon Dread, and then Jordan kind of changed his mind about it too. So I guess that could also be part
yeah.
of
The big question
equation.
is when. when did he change his mind about
Right.
that? You know,
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of
honestly
arguments.
feel like I feel, and this is not based on anything, just on my own, I guess, fandom paranoia or whatever. Like, Jordan was like, too many people think it. I can't let that be the case. Like, there'll be no surprise for the review.
Yeah.
Too many of the fans think that. I feel like that's the one like kind of cheap change he made.
My counter argument to that would be the prologue of Lord of Chaos, because there's a series in there where Grendel is talking to Samael. Yes, Samael. And Samael's like, "Oh, where's Demandred?" And Grendel turns to him and goes, "I don't know, but check out these nobles I got from Shara."
Right.
Oh, yes.
And he's like, "Yeah, but where's Demandred?" And she's like, "I don't know, but let me tell you about Shara."
Yeah,
and like
he's
she just,
talking up.
yeah,
Yeah, he's talking, and she's thinking, or whoever it is, it's coming from, I think, Samael's point of view, whoever it is.
Yeah.
And he's like, everything she's doing and showing me is all for a specific reason. She's trying to like manipulate me and make me think things. Like he's like, this is all a show to make me think that she's doing something that she's not really doing.
right.
And instead, she's like, actually, we've looped all the way around to I'm just literally telling you what I'm doing.
Right. and we
It's
get
got
a
that
little
complicated, it collapsed
Totally.
into simplicity.
Reverse psychology.
And that chapter has a little bit of her POV at the end, and she's like, "I knew exactly what he was thinking. I played him like a fiddle."
Yeah.
No.
No.
So that's why I think that in that scene, prologue to Lord of Chaos, Jordan had made up his mind that Demandred was in Shara.
So
Yeah.
this is a tangent from Red Veil Aiel.
Right.
Channeling light.
Red Veil Aiel.
Well, we're coming up in an hour. We've got at least half an hour left, and we can go a little bit over that if we need to. But we are coming up. What are we at? We did Red Veils. Do we want to talk about the battle in Chapter 7?
That's a pretty cool battle.
That's a pretty cool battle.
It's Sanderson. It's
right?
a battle.
It's a battle. He channels a nice burnt channel down the middle after taking out the fades, and his forces basically push the Trollocs off the sides, and they're very successful at it.
It's
Yes.
such a desperate gamble, though. Like, let me get inside the enemies and fight them from the inside out. Like, I'll just get
Channelers make all
surrounded
the difference.
first.
And that was that Arganda's? One of the Arganda Galen is the one who came up with that plan, I think, right?
Right. No, and also
Yeah.
like not having any retreat. The Krallics have no way to retreat because it's just
Oh, yeah.
cliff.
Yeah.
So-
Right. And also makes sense with Perrin being like, we have to rescue the prisoners if at all possible. So
Right.
don't let the Trollocs back up onto the prisoners. That will not end well for
Yeah.
said prisoners.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that it was like the build to it was like Perrin's presented with different strategies about how to possibly do it, and then he kind of weighs through it, and the whole through line for the story, like the underpinning, and it's named later on, is basically like Perrin, the blacksmith, right, is forging these disparate groups into like one people, right, with these different cultures, these different nationalities, these different ideologies, whatever, and he's able to take the feedback from everybody and synthesize it and say, we're going to go with this plan, and not have the other people go like, well, that's a bad plan, you should have listened to me or whatever, but everyone can buy in. And like it's nice to do character building and action simultaneously.
Yes.
And you don't always
Yeah.
get that, and it does it well here.
Yes. Yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely.
And it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they really they lose like very few people in the whole
I think they
battle.
lose like 12 or 13, like somewhere around that. It's
Yeah.
a very low number.
14.
And like
Well,
100, and 100 and something Trollocs are dead. And
Well,
they
you
lose,
better
like,
keep
12
track of it
people.
for the next trivia game because that's apparently.
Oh God!
Yeah.
Don't
Oh
even
my
bring that up.
gosh.
Don't bring that up.
Hey, DT, are you taking notes?
I just like to point out that we did pretty good on that section. No. Well, hey, you won.
Yeah,
You
we
can't-
still
you-
beat you at the
yeah.
final betting thing. So.
Oh my Lord! We realized if we would have just not believed in ourselves and bet zero, we would have wound up winning. We should have just bet zero because we were doing terrible. Just bet zero and we would have won by default.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Let everyone else kill themselves.
No, and I
We
fooled.
literally-
I fooled
We went 0 for the last 2 rounds of that. I think we went 0 for our team.
I think we got
Oh.
one
They
point.
gave us it was a gimme point. It was a gimme point.
ouch. Ouch.
We put like a character's name. We put the wrong last initial. They still gave us the point for it.
Yeah. They're usually pretty good about that. That's
That's all right.
yeah. They're nice. Tangents bound, by the way.
Yes.
So chapter 8, we've got some lines from Machine Shin. It's always fun. And then Dane. Is this the chapter where Dane runs off into the
It's
Black Wind?
not. I think that's the next. This is like a short chapter. It's just I
Yeah.
think like Perrin hears it, and he's like, "Let's get out of here." And I think he decides like,
Let's run.
he's like, "Let's get off this platform, and everybody turn out your lights, and maybe the Match and Shin won't notice us."
Oh my
And just-
god, what
and
a
just come
bold
by us.
plan.
Yes, that's his
Hide in the
plan.
dark from the
He's like, just
darkness.
hide and be quiet. And maybe it won't see us.
I think that's the plan that my kids have.
Right. Here's some blankets,
they hide and
Perrin. You want to
seek.
put them over your head? Some
Right,
sand to
right.
stick your head into?
Just don't move.
Yeah, and then he hears Match and Shin mention his name, and he's like, "Oh, we're fucked."
Yeah.
Yeah.
He definitely hears the wind before anybody else, except
Yeah.
maybe Dane. But Dane's, again, connected.
Yeah, he's hearing it at a different level. Perrin actually hears it just as a person with ears. Dane is hearing it like in his head.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
calling to him specifically. Yeah.
And do you feel like Dane is not hearing the same things that everyone else hears? I feel like Dane's
Yeah.
hearing what happened to Perrin's family.
Yeah, he's hearing a very specific, tailored thing to get into his head. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, that makes me wonder if like different people hear different things.
Absolutely. Well, no one
I would
hears.
think so.
Not everybody else hears Abara, right? Like, I assume only Perrin hears his own name.
Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, but I do feel like most people hear the, drink your flesh and like all the super insane stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
sure,
Like
yeah,
just personalized.
totally.
And then like one or two of the voices in the chorus are like, okay, now I'm honing in on their specific issues and can start like messing with them.
Mhm.
I like that. I never thought about
I
that
like
either.
that a lot.
Yeah, like 1,000 people all screaming for your attention, and then one of them is like, okay, I got it. I got the light bulb. Like now let's go mess with them.
Customized greeting.
Customized insanity for your pleasure.
On demand. It's the world they live in.
Ribbed with evil for your pleasure.
Jeez.
Yeah, I think Machin might be a little confused about what constitutes pleasure at that point, but
Apply to taint.
can you tell that it's getting near the end of the con?
You can tell who's not slept very much.
Oh man! So that brings us to chapter 9, which to me is the meat of this story. That's really where the important things happen. The cleansing happens. The Loyal shows up. The guys, and we learn about Perrin's family. There's so much to it. So.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. I don't even know where to start. Right.
Right.
Oh, so I was just gonna say this kind of confirms, right? Because Bornhold thinks that the Match and Shin's coming for him, but he thinks that it knows his name.
Mhm.
So I guess you're right. That's the customized message.
Yep. That's the.
Shin is docking with your psyche now.
It's like
Please do not
Facebook
resist.
ads or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
So
good one.
let me. I didn't take it like this when I was reading it, but in you saying that right now and like what Bornhold does, do you think Bornhold runs away from them into the wind in an attempt to kind of say like, "Hey, it's after me. Let me go, away from everybody."
Just trying to draw it away.
No.
Or do you think he's just like crazy at this point?
I think he's just
like,
crazy
let me
at
get
this
it
point.
over with.
Yeah.
I want to die as quickly as possible.
I
He is-
think it's more he doesn't know he's like running because it's in his head and he's just running and like he
Okay.
He
it's
didn't
like
mean to die.
he
per
didn't
se.
mean to die. Although
Oh, I don't
did
know.
he die?
We don't know that, but I think it's clear though throughout the story that he's pretty suicidal.
Oh yeah, you should have let me fall, Ibarra.
So
Right.
I think he is running to die.
Hmm.
Like he just wants to get it over with because he's being like haunted by his actions.
Yeah, I would say that I agree with that, but I want to ascribe some sort of noble redemption arc, and I don't think it's there. I
No.
think he just runs to save himself from prolonged suffering.
Well, he does apologize to Perrin before.
True, but I don't think he's actually thinking straight enough to like sacrifice himself for everybody. I think that that's
Yeah. Oh no, I agree. So he
Yeah.
is
Okay.
kind of he is regretful of his actions, and you're right. I don't think he's doing that to redeem himself. I think he's totally like wants to just the pain and the torment that he's suffering to be over, and he apologizes to Parrot, and it's just like, I'm just gonna go, kill myself.
Yeah.
What I want, if this was part of the canon,
right now.
Oh yeah, totally. If this was part of the canon, I would love to see a crazy Mashin Shin influenced Dane Bornhold come out of one of the way gates.
Oh God.
I need this.
Like later on in the last battle.
He's with Fane with all the Fane's
he's
troop.
like Fane's right hand man, like bodyguard watching his back.
Totally.
Oh, that would have been so good.
That would actually be kind of cool. I have to say,
like expand Fan's role by giving him a sidekick, because he was already influenced by Fane in the Black Wind, and that sort of he maybe that helps him survive the Black Wind and helps him navigate out. And then once he's out, he's connected back to Fane. Fane finds him, uses him in the last battle, and you have like corrupted White Cloaks for Fane versus Perrin's honorable White Cloaks with Galad.
That's a great question to ask Brandon when you get a chance. Is it right? Because you got to rewrite stuff.
How about when you get a chance? I'm not talking to Brandon.
Well, he's pretty good about answering questions on blogs and things like that. So,
just in general, when
we get a chance, the
royal you,
the royal you, not you specifically. So.
Oh, you talk to me like I talk to him every day. I'm like, I hope so. That would be wonderful.
But I love the fact that even if it's insanity driven or whatever, someone being with Fane willingly, as opposed to just being a zombie controlled by him. But like the Fane to have an actual right hand man who's just crazy in a similar way is like such an exciting idea to me. I wish that were the case now. Oh, man.
And I really like it too because Fane does so much damage with the White Cloaks in the Two Rivers. Like it very much becomes difficult to say who's actually calling the shots on that. So it'd be really appropriate to have a White Cloak actually voluntarily with him and present with him as he goes through. Like that would just tie it all together.
Yeah. We don't get that named White Cloak that he's like his go-to guy or something like that. That doesn't happen.
I mean, and in a lot of ways, Fane can never have a go-to guy because the kind of person he is. Like he can never be
for sure
side by side with somebody,
But someone could follow him thinking that they have that position.
Absolutely.
He could trick somebody into that.
Because we see the Dark Friends doing that, right? They think he's like going to treat them well. He's like, no, you're just Trolloc food.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think on a radio, I think you mentioned this about, right? He doesn't, or Seth, he doesn't, they don't find him. So it's not like a typical Mash and Shin thing where he just like eats your soul and you're just like an empty shell. He's just gone. So you don't know what happens to him.
Right.
I assume he runs right off the edge of the cliff because he's not thinking straight and just falls, but we don't actually know.
No, he just disappears in the darkness.
Machin Shin could probably like pick him up mid-flight whenever it feels like, as long as he hasn't starved to death yet.
We didn't really talk about this, but Perrin realizes Machin Shin is the size of a city. Like it is the size of Ashadar. It's huge. It's not just a cloud. It is a beast of a thing.
Very much like Mashadar.
Yeah,
city-sized.
City-sized. Yeah, he says that specifically, which really puts parallels between those two, which makes me go, what are you doing, Brandon? You're killing me here. Like, are they related or aren't they? Like,
Yeah, he thinks it would have dwarfed most cities.
Is
insane.
Mashin Shin the dream world version of Mashadar?
Ooh.
Oh.
Canon established.
Ooh.
Maybe. I like it. I like it a lot.
A reflection of Mashadar in Teleran Riyadh.
Because we
And
get
I
a lot
guess
I've
of
never heard
grows.
this as a theory, ever.
And I always imagine it grows, right? As more souls it gets, it just grows and grows. Yeah.
And maybe they could reflect in each other,
Huh.
Oh, that would be
So
a
then-
horrible afterlife. You're flickering back and forth.
So then that makes that meeting that we were talking about before of Mashadar, Match and Shin more interesting.
Right. It's like meeting yourself in the
man.
flesh.
Two halves come together and cancel out.
I love how
But
the
they
two
do-
of you made the exact same. You both went, oh. That was great.
Although we did talk that they do come from different sources, so
Yes.
And yet the
so-
parallels are hard to ignore.
It is hard to ignore, yeah.
And it feeds into the whole, like, every time you go into the ways, right, you're walking into like a silvery mirrored reflection of yourself, and everyone talks about that doubling and like what does that mean, and like this might be like an actual payoff for that as well, if these are like mirror images, like opposite sides of the coin. Like, oh man, this is
mirror
good.
world is it trying to say that the mirror is trying to say this is a mirror world? Is that what they're trying to get at?
I just feel like there's a lot of like in the books. There's like almost like a lot of lip service to like a duality thing when you go into the ways. Like you walk into yourself, you see a mirror image of yourself, you meet each other, you walk through. But like that doesn't actually like they don't do anything with that. It's just a thing. It's just a weird
Cool
thing
visual.
that happens, right?
Yeah.
But like maybe like again, and now I don't even know if Sanderson was intending this or if this is like maybe something that was in his subconscious or whatever. But like maybe this is a payoff for that kind of visualization, right? That there is like this mirror, I don't know, whether evil in the ways, you know.
So much enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Well, that was
me-
Mashi
you
and Shin
Seth,
totally
you got
blowing
me-
through. Yeah.
You got me all worked up.
Well, that's what I'm here for. No, I love my off the wall theories. They're fun. Yeah, no, that's one's a wind, one's a fog, but both weather phenomenon.
Yeah.
Boop, 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 doo, doo. Phenomenon.
And then it comes the sound, the singing.
Right, yeah, and gosh, yeah. So we get a lot of Mash and Shin with an occasional upspears in there.
I love that
that's
moment.
yeah, right. I forgot they weave like the different
It's like a battle of the bands kind of thing.
Right.
Yes, or mashup or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think I always skim over those sort of like sings and poems. I don't always read them as carefully. And then Perrin is like, "Wait,
Yeah.
axe is up? What?" And I was like, "What?" And I had to go back and read it myself. And that worked so well because I did the same double take that Perrin did because I literally hadn't read carefully enough. He was like, "Wait, axe is up," and I was like, "Wait, axe is up."
Yeah, me three.
Yeah.
Me three.
I imagine the voices sounded very different, so it should have been easier for Perrin to realize that.
Well,
wait, there's Ogier voices versus Match and Shin. It's like it was like Pitch Perfect or something, like a battle.
I'll say this: I listened to this, the audio version. I didn't read it text-wise, and so it is different, but it's still so disoriented because he does it with like this weird vocal effect that I didn't know what was happening. So it was the same kind of. It is different, but it's still like you're just thinking like, is time slowing down because Perrin's about to like have his soul eaten from his body, or like what's happening here? So it was, but it wasn't. You were still like, wait, what's going on right now? What is that?
Yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't read by Michael Kramer or Kate Redding, so I couldn't listen to it. So, I'm contractually obliged just not to listen to anything except stuff read by those two. So, no, actually, I did listen to it. I started to listen to the audiobook, and I was like, no, I can't hear Perrin talking in someone else's voice.
Yeah, it was not. I don't want to knock whoever did it, but
Sure,
I didn't love it. I didn't love it, but that's how I had it. So
yeah. Well, and it's hard. I mean, we've heard so much of these characters in very specific voices. The idea of hearing them in anyone else's voice, yeah. Oh, did Michael Kramer did it for the Audible version?
Did he? I don't know.
Because I thought there was another audiobook author for this whole thing. Yeah.
I didn't check. Let me look right.
It's like I'm gonna look right now. It's a
if we did, I'm cutting that out.
We're gonna somehow
edit
edit
part out.
the last 2 minutes of
What last
live
2 minutes? I saw
viewing.
nothing. Yeah, nope.
right.
No one saw that.
So nope. All right. So anyway.
Tom has a hearing issue, so you can't go by anything he says.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
I do have bad ears, but it's anyway.
Yeah. And that's why you listen to audiobooks?
My point is that in the audiobook, it is still done in a way to disorient you.
Yes.
That's all I was trying to say.
That's cool.
And then it's awesome.
Yeah, and then just this whole scene is awesome. Loyal and the Ogier singing away the taint, and basically, so the way I thought of it is they create a channel, a thread, in the same way the Dark One does for his channelers. Only they're doing it with like light and song and pushing away the darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, it's interesting because it's not just they're not singing away like the actual physical appearance. It's they're singing away the actual taint, and Grady and Niels can feel untainted Sidene from that, and that's really interesting. And they weave like a totally new weave, don't they? like it's something that they've never done before. I think they mention it's this bright light, and it's like a totally new weave. They say. I think if I remember correctly.
I just saw it as fire from a pure source, and because they'd been dealing this like brown tainted fire for so long, he saw it as this pure white that was coming out.
Yeah, like
Okay.
he had to reset like the flow in order to like get the benefit of the Ogier coming in or something.
Like
Yeah.
he had
I thought it was really cool how the Ogier's song didn't just physically push the wind back; it actually pushed the effect of the taint and the wind back. It was more metaphysical, and I liked that.
almost
Yeah.
like the Ogier were a cleansing terangrial.
Yeah, kind of.
Oh yeah, yeah, right. Because they try to do what we think Rand did, and try to just shoot stuff at the match and shit. It doesn't do anything until the Ogier come and sing, and they get this untainted Sidene, which makes it retreat.
And we see in this world that music has power, right? Music to bind.
Yeah, yeah, and I
Oh.
mean, like the Age of Legends was defined by a song.
Do you have the voice?
Yeah,
I mean, opening scene.
the song
Right.
they're looking
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rand asks Lewis Theron if he has the voice.
Yeah, we did like a history series on our podcast, and we were talking about like during the breaking that it was the Gen Aiel when the male channels were going insane. Like there was like a talk about how they would like they tried surrounding one of the male channelers and singing to the male channeler to try to cure the madness. And I think he wound up killing them all. But
Yeah.
In light of this conversation, that scene has so much more profoundness.
Yeah.
They weren't just singing to remind him of his humanity. They're like, no, we can sing the evil out of your brain.
yeah, it was like it was very. I always when I read it, I pictured it as like the Grinch and
The
all
Who's,
the
yeah.
Who's.
Oh, the
around
Who's.
Grinch singing. Yeah, that's
If-
what I thought.
Basically.
If the Grinch was murdering the Who's one by one, sure,
Yeah.
that
Well,
totally
it didn't work. It didn't work in this story.
All right, but now I see that Aiel as maybe being a little bit less
Crazy?
delusional when
Yeah.
they tried to sing it out of him. They're like,
Yeah.
this should work. It really should. We have
Yeah.
proof.
Yeah, this is not the only time we hear this. So
Maybe they just needed the Ogier. All right, so I don't know
Yeah.
who. I just want to not trash talk anyone. I don't know who did the vocal, the voiceover for this, the reading, but it wasn't.
Michael
I'm
Kramer?
blanking on his name. No, it wasn't Kramer. He's
Yeah.
not on the list of people that narrate the stories. So,
Right.
so all right. I didn't trash talk Kramer.
Okay, so we don't have to
Good,
cut that.
good.
Good. Because I
Let's cut it out.
didn't want to
Let's
edit
cut it
any of that. Yeah, no. Okay.
Um,
Because I had the same thought, right? I was like, I listened to it and I was like, I need to go
Yeah.
back and read this. Like,
it didn't whatever. I didn't have a copy of the book in time, and I couldn't get one in time. So I was like, well, I'm going to download it. And,
nice. Well, thank you.
no problem. So, yeah. Anyway, I think this is awesome. I think it's and then like as soon as it's done, like Loyal is like exactly like he would be in any other situation, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is
super
like
giddy.
frustrating.
He's
Yeah?
so giddy right now. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
I didn't think we were gonna do this. I can't believe I did this.
Right, because when we see this part is again the roughness of this not having made it into canon, because the Ogier are supposed to become very concise when they get into their battle space. We see that in the last battle, that like Matt at one point I think is talking to Loyal and expects Loyal to go on and on and on, and Loyal just stops after he delivered exactly the information he had to. Like there's this whole shift
Right.
when the Ogier get into battle mode, and this was clearly battle mode. Like they were fighting for their lives, and the fact that Loyal is still his normal bubbly self is just like, eh.
Yeah.
Well, and we haven't mentioned the true hero of the story,
Varen.
Varen.
Yeah.
I noticed
Yeah.
that too, right?
Yeah. I liked that. That was
Varen
fun.
knows, right? She set
Threw
this
that in
all
there,
up.
right? The letter.
She's like,
he
Matt
gets-
is gonna totally fuck this up.
Right.
So.
And it totally redeems that bullshit with Matt's letter where she was like, I can depend on Matt to read it. And you're like, no, you're not.
Like, Varen,
Like-
you know better.
Yeah.
Right.
And that makes sense if she also sent this letter.
Yeah. I thought that was a nice little touch there.
Yeah.
Ooh, a letter from Varen.
A letter from Varen. The letters from Varen have meaning.
Oh, they're all important. They're very important. She doesn't write letters, willy nilly. They're
No.
all very important.
Very true.
And then I like this part too, and I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've read A Memory of Light, But mentions that they were going to open the Book of Translation and leave. Does that happen? I don't remember. Does that happen in A Memory of Light?
This is one of the passages that is carbon copied into Memory of Light.
Oh, okay.
The way that Covril is like, oh yeah, I always believed in you. I just needed you to put your argument up against a good counter argument. That's like word for word from Memory of Light.
Okay.
That passage in specifically is the one I was referring to when we started this podcast, and I was like, there's some stuff that's just like he
the mothership was going to come.
But that makes sense, right? Because that conversation doesn't depend on them being in the ways. It depends on what happened at the stump.
Right.
Like that is in canon.
Just whenever they first meet.
Yeah, and I always like the parallel when I read this. I immediately think of Lord of the Rings, and I think of the elves, and how like Jordan took a different turn, right? And Tolkien says no, the elves are leaving, contrary to the movies. Forget the movies, people. The elves don't freaking come and save the day. The elves leave, but Jordan says, "No, you know what? The Ogier, they're going to stay because they're, I liked it better this way." So I feel like this was a good turn, and again calling back to Tolkien, but saying, "No, I'm going a different path than Tolkien," because the books, right? The Eye of the World, the books kind of start very Tolkien-ish. The story's a little similar. There's a lot of the same tropes, and then Jordan takes his diverging paths and says, "This is my world now," and I feel like this is kind of like a callback to that.
Yeah.
I like that. I don't think a lot about the Tolkien parallels because Tolkien's not generally on my mind. But I really like I don't think about the elf Ogier parallel a lot, but it's there. The long-lived beings of the forest. Yeah, absolutely.
That have the ability to go to a different dimension.
Right.
Reasons.
Yeah.
So here's my
Only
question: what do you think the Book of Translation is? Well, I've got you guys.
Tom, do you want to take that one, or should I?
Well, I'll say this: we had we did an episode on I think it was when we were talking about the Ogier. I think it was on that episode. But
it was.
And we went off on this crazy super tangent about these crazy theories, and we came up with they're aliens, right? The Book of Translation is not just moving them to a mirror world, but to another planet, and that then we were like, well,
because translation in math is just a physical movement.
It's right. It's an instruction manual for their spaceships, right?
Yes, we came up with the fact that the reason that the steady exists is because their spaceships are buried deep underneath, and the Book of Translation is I mean, this is all tongue in cheek, but the Book of Translation is it's a starter manual for the spaceships, and it's it's gonna get going, and then they're gonna move.
And there's no power because of the engines are emanating some sort of
some sort of radiation or something from the spaceships prevents the one power.
I think it honestly started out with the fact that I do think that they come from somewhere else. Obviously, they're not from this world, and the Steading have that world's essence there, right? So I think with it.
Also, the Steading are part of Tel'aran'rhiod, which is also a really intriguing thing about them.
That's my point. I feel like the Steading go with them. That they don't just they don't leave. The Steading leave, right? Because the Steading is part of their world. And that's where well, how is it part of their world? Oh, there's a spaceship underneath, and there is a force field or whatever. But I do think that that's what it is. I think that however they got here by taking some of their world and moving it to this world, and then Book of Translation moves them back to the other side of the equation.
Right. Yeah. I'm 100% on board with that. That is some sort of.
Yeah, I agree with everything except the spaceships. I think that's way too much of a Jules Verne approach to this. It's probably just a green glowing orb that poofs and then
I think I had
they've actually
carved a bottle of Maker's Mark that night. So I
was gonna say the Book of Translation is actually a book that they carved opening in and put the bottle of Maker's Mark in. So when they open the Book of Translation, it's just all right, we're going somewhere else for tonight.
It's probably kind of how I think I've always thought of it. Now that I'm really working on it, I think I've always seen it as exactly like the books in Mist.
Yes.
Open up a book, there's a swirly window, you put your hand on it, you fall through, bam, new universe.
Oh, the book itself is like a portal or something. Oh, okay. Oh, I never thought about that at all.
Oh, cool.
It's funny, I just played Riven last week.
So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about, yeah.
Oh, I never thought of it that way, but now I'm going to think of it that way.
Right, and they just get in a big line, and they just one after the other, just whoop.
Well, I'm imagining that for an entire civilization complete with acreage, they probably have a slightly larger portal to work with. But
Yeah,
it's
so
like
how
a
would
dream
that
spike.
work?
Like you open up like a big bubble and it like encompasses everyone, and then you hit go, and it just like.
So if all the
Right.
Ogier are at
One
different
hand
steading,
bubble,
though.
second hand, go.
So if all the Ogier, though, are at, like steading all over the world, do they all get sucked through the Book of Translation, or?
I think
bet-
there's one book. Yeah, I don't think.
I
it's-
think
Well,
that
yeah.
I think you could get left behind.
If you weren't in a setting.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think that they would end up left behind, and then they'd die of the longing, because like there's nothing that says that the Ogier have to completely remove their traces from this world in order to come again. You could leave some behind, right? You can't leave the steading behind, but I don't see why you couldn't leave the Ogier behind.
They would die,
Right.
probably, if they died
Exactly.
out at some point. Yeah.
They would just
Especially
die.
if the
and go
steading go
extinct.
with them, yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to reproduce. They wouldn't be able to maintain. Those individuals would be the end.
Oh, that'd be sad. That's sad.
It would be sad, but I
They
cannot
come back.
imagine that they all just get raptured at once because someone opened the Book of Translation on the other side of the world.
That'd be a great Outrigger novel.
Yeah.
Of like this, the Ogier leave and like a couple of Ogier get left behind, and that'd be such a sad, tragic story. Oh, I'm gonna cry after this.
Dad, I got to kill. Here's dinner. Wait, hello?
Right? And there's like no sign they've ever been.
Yeah,
Oh,
like the setting's
God.
gone. Just a big
It
hole
would be
in the
like
ground.
Island of the Blue Dolphins, but like even worse.
That is a callback.
I was just talking
Wow.
about the other day with Leslie. We
Yeah.
were doing a childhood books retroactive
Yeah.
discussion, but
God, that's the woman who lives alone on the island, right?
yeah,
And-
because she goes back for her brother because her brother's an idiot and didn't grab his
Right.
toys, and he's gonna
Right.
get left behind. And she's like, "Screw that!" And then he promptly dies trying to tame a wild dog. So then she's by herself for years.
You just hit a part of my brain that has not been hit in like 15, 20 years. That was one of my favorite books as a kid. I used to read that over and over again. Whoa, okay. Braingasm. Sorry about that.
Seriously, go listen to Leslie and I talk about our childhood books. It is nothing but that for like 2 hours.
Oh, yeah.
All of these books from our childhood that we'd forgotten about.
I'll have to do that. But yeah, so I mean, there's the sort of the. I guess we should talk about chapter 10. Is there anything else in chapter 9 that anyone want to touch on?
The only thing I think the only thing I noted is that Loyal thinks that it was Perrin who, like Perrin being Taviran, that caused Loyal to be able to convince them to come, but Perrin's like, no, it was you did it, not me.
Right.
And the other thing I have is the line that also was copied into Memory of Light about, why did you not tell me marriage wasn't bad, Perrin?
Yeah.
Like that
Marriage
little
isn't
like
so bad.
being married is fine. Like that was also in Memory of Light,
Oh,
pretty
okay.
much verbatim.
Yeah, he tells this is when he tells Perrin that he's married. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that because whenever that first meeting happens, that conversation happens. So a lot of this
Right.
information gets conveyed in Memory of Light at their first meeting. It's just this is no longer their first meeting.
Yeah.
So yeah, the last one is the burning of the bodies and the growing of the tree.
Yeah. And
Oh, yeah.
seeing the ways without Machin Shin like
Right.
clouding the field of view and getting to see that it's organic rather than just purely mysterious. I like that in the real light they get to see that it was grown because they never got that impression before.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the way it was
Um,
grown like a plant is fascinating, and the way it branches and stuff like that.
Right, and they actually complete their mission. They destroy the bridges to the Camelin
Hallelujah.
way.
Right. Yay!
The entire point.
By the way, everybody, that's the point of this whole mission.
Right.
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 Which I
and-
mean, which is funny because it's about cleansing the ways, but you're like, oh, that's not what he went in there to do. He went in there to
No.
just destroy some shit.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. To stop using to keep the Shadow Spawn from using the ways to filter people Shadow Spawn to Camelin. That's the whole point, and yeah, turns out totally up. Well, they do that, but you're right. Then they discover something totally different.
Yeah, and I guess I made reference to it earlier, but this is the part where I feel like they give you clues throughout the story of things that can be done to like permanently cleanse the ways, right? And that, like the fact that it's Teleramriad adjacent, and that it's something that maybe Perrin might have a way to kind of manipulate this space in the same way, and then what the Ogier could do, and the fact that they're going to stick around after the last battle, like they basically give a mission statement like, hey, we're coming back and fixing this. Like, yeah, we destroyed these bridges, but we can grow them again. We can figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
And Perrin, as he always does, at one point talks about the hammer and says he's using it too much to destroy things, not enough to build things. And like this gives that kind of sense of like he's still gonna have a purpose when the last battle is over, and that's to kind of help rebuild things. So it's nice to have something hopeful. And when we go into the postscript, and I don't know if we will or not or whatever, but when Brendan talks about things that he felt like it didn't fit for a multitude of reasons, that's one of them, which I don't think he actually discusses. Like, I feel like it's almost too hopeful at this early a point in the book for like, oh, well, they're gonna fix something. Like, they should still be like, there's no hope yet. Like, we're too desperate.
It's an early victory.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
He did say pacing was a big issue, and I can see where an early victory would ruin some of that pacing that he was really setting up.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's good. That's a good point.
And I honestly don't know exactly when this would happen.
I don't think he did either.
It's just cool. I just want to do it. Like, can we figure it out?
I got a question for you, Tom, before we go, though. GIF or GIF?
GIF.
Okay, because you say Ogier instead of Ogier, so I gotta...
That was a whole thing that we had.
It changes every time.
I think it's like I think we came up with the fact that like it should be pronounced like Bert Lahr, like the Cowardly Lion. It should be like Ogar, but like I can't do that without sounding like a pirate. I feel like if you just call them ogre, it's too much.
Right? Yeah. No, I'm not going there.
Too on the nose, so I go the other way.
Okay, fair enough.
But I am not a pronunciation expert by any stretch.
No, we are, none of us are. we constantly bring that up.
True. So we got a cool question from the panel. Would the Book of Translation affect the Shan-Chan Ogier?
I guess if they're in steading, then
they don't
yes.
Do they, not have?
They do. Oh yeah, they're all steading.
They don't have the
there.
longing. That's what it is.
Right.
They don't have.
They actually have more
so many
steading.
Right.
Yeah, there's more steading over there in Shan-Chan. But you're right, they don't. They don't have that longing. The Death Watch guard can stay off the steading for some. I don't remember why. I remember we talked about it.
I wonder if that's part of the process of like opening the Book of Translation is like, here's the ingredients list. Like, first go gather all your lost brethren from around the planet, then perform the ritual.
Right.
Maybe it's something like that. Or maybe it would have just been the like, sorry, you guys are sworn to the Shan-Chan, so...
I guess there's a clue. I would assume that there's a clue. Like, it's called the Book of Translation, so I imagine that has something... that he's specifically picked that word translation for a reason, and that is some sort of clue as to what happens. I don't know what.
I always come back to the mathematical definition of translation, which is translating an object is moving it on a grid from one location to another. All you're doing is translating an object.
And RJ has the whole physics background.
Right.
That's right. Okay. That totally makes sense then. Yeah.
Rather than verbal translation or word translation, he's actually referring to physical translation from one place to another.
Okay, I never thought of it that way, but that totally makes sense now.
You gotta listen to my podcast, man.
I do listen to you guys are like WoT Spoilers was the first Wheel of Time podcast that I ever listened to, and I've listened to a majority of your episodes. So.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Yeah, I have to say, like before we ever did our show, he was telling me about your show. So.
That's it's actually part of the inspiration for me to want to do a podcast. So.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I forget that we've been out there for that long. I still think of myself as a newcomer, right? Like when we have like Jason Denzel on here, and like some of these people have been in this fandom for 10, 20 years. And are old, well-established people. I'm like, I'm a newcomer, but then like you guys come along, you're like, oh no, you were doing it first. I'm like
oh yeah. I mean, there's so many. When we started was around the time that a lot of other podcasters and YouTube creators started, like right around the same time we did. Like when once the show became announced, I think a lot of people just kind of jumped on it. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, no, I fell into a lucky timing in that I started this up just before the show was announced. So it actually worked out really well for us.
You're podcasting before it was cool.
Exactly.
Podcasting about WoT before it was cool.
We always got to throw credit to the Twatcast guys because
the Twatcast guys are the OG. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they've been putting in the work for a long time, and the beers they've been putting the beers down. Whew, there's been a lot of drinking to bring us Twatcast. That's all I'm gonna say.
And they're still doing it too.
Oh my god, I know. Well, and they're great. They're great guys.
They're fun.
Yeah. One of the things I like about this last chapter, the Aerith Loyal relationship reminds me a lot of Harriet and Robert Jordan. I have to think that Sanderson was writing that in. Like writing
I
a book
like
together after the last battle.
She's gonna write a book.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
a
about
companion to his book.
About the cleansing of Sidene. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
She has all the questions.
Very sad that line didn't make it into a Memory of Light. There's no reason that couldn't have made it into Memory of Light.
That's headcanon.
And so, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, I'm sorry, I'm taking this and I'm putting it in canon.
Well, and one of the things we see is we see a lot of those like Fourth Age quotes. A lot of them are written by Loyal and Aerith.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
That's right.
So this is foreshadowing.
Amazing how we
that
never
book.
noticed that before.
Right.
Yeah, and this is the point where the Ogier like decide that they're going to fight at the last battle, at least in this version.
Right,
In this version,
right,
this
right.
is where it happens. And they, Elder Haman asks the Ashaman if they'll come back and help them cleanse the ways.
Yeah.
No, that again, Outrigger novels. I mean, that's not
Yep.
Outrigger, but
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
yeah.
It's happening.
Tom, you working on that?
Yeah. I'll tell you when it's done.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll hold my breath. Yeah. No. Okay. No. So that's the end, guys. I think we've reached the point. Do you have anything else?
I got one more question from the audience that I thought would make great as a wrap up because it's a nice lightning round. Who would win at Ninja Warrior? Gaul, Matt, or Sulin?
Ooh.
What does Matt do any Ninja Warrior type stuff that like specifically? I'm trying to remember.
He busts into the Stone of Tyr
he's
along
a
the top of a
decent
wall.
climber.
He
Yeah.
He
manages
does
to not
climb.
die in Tarvalin that one night. He climbs up over the garden wall in Camelin.
That's all we
Yeah,
saw.
Rand did that too.
Yeah.
Wait, Rand fell off. Matt did.
Well, he climbed up and
he
then
climbed
fell
up
off.
it, but he fell off. He fell off of it.
So I mean, I'd say Matt has general nimbleness.
Yes.
Yeah. But unless he can fall up a mountain, I don't think he's going to be the first one to the top.
He does have the luck though, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna. It's gotta be one of the Aiel, right?
I would
Yeah,
say
I-
Sulin or
I
Gaul.
would say until this story, I would say Sulin. But
Yes.
like Gaul, I'm sorry. When Gaul does this, and then kills people, and then does this, like
Yeah.
that's over the top for me.
Yeah.
That's over the top.
Yeah, I'd say until this scene, I'd be like, well, Sulin knows more about what's what, but Gaul just.
The only thing I say about
Yeah.
Sulin is sometimes a lighter person, a smaller person, can get through that stuff a little easier, and it's just a size thing.
And she's
So-
really experienced.
And
She
really
knows what
experienced,
she's
yeah,
about.
Right.
That's right. Yeah.
So I can see her approaching it much smarter than Gaul. Gaul would like just run at the barrier or whatever, and like Sulin might actually plan it out a little bit better.
Yeah, right. When Gaul does this, he's clearly not like thinking about the consequences or planning it out. He's just like, oh, here's a chance
stone
for me to
dog.
show
He's just-
off.
He's just thinking about the maidens watching.
Yeah, that's all I was
Yes.
thinking about.
He's just showboating. He's like a basketball player doing a dunk, a breakaway dunk, and then but he hits it. So
But other than that, I think we successfully nailed an hour and a half of tangents about this Outrigger novel.
I do too. No, that was fantastic, guys. I had a blast. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, guys. It's
oh
fun
well,
to have
thanks
new
for
voices.
inviting us. I had a blast
Yes.
too. This was great.
Really, really good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was some good content.
That was good content.
Everybody, thank you so much. We're going to pop off now. This is the last event.
Aside from closing.
Aside from closing ceremonies, so we're going to do the closing ceremonies next. The auctions for all the items for the auction items. The auction for the items is over. Hopefully you'll learn soon whether you've won or not. If you have won, I'll be sending you a bill. If you haven't, that means you've got extra money to donate, so go donate it. Right?
Just give it to us.
Just give it to us anyway, right? Books to Prisoners is already made a ton of money off of you guys. I want to say thank you so much. We'll get the final amount in closing
guys are
ceremonies, but already I'm blown away by where we are right now. So it's just been amazing. So thank you so much to everybody who's contributed, both for replacement ticket prices and in the auction. So just thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys blew us away last year, and now you've blown us away again this year. So look forward to next year.
And I'm going to say this more, but thank you so much to the planning committee. Like this.
Oh God.
I mean,
Yeah,
they put so much work into making this event happen and happen smoothly and well. And, you know, despite the fact there was some chaos on the back end, I think nobody on the front end saw that, which is great.
Now you're telling everyone.
Yeah, that's the sign
nice.
of successful con.
Yeah.
Is the time, you know, but like that's, I remember talking to the Jordan Con people and they said the same thing. They were like, I was like, oh, thanks for a great con. And they're like, you have no idea what goes on behind to make that happen. Now I do.
Now
we do.
Blood, sweat, tears, offerings to dark gods. I mean, a lot happened.
But yeah, just thank you to everybody, and I'll see you at the closing ceremonies in 20 minutes.
20 minutes?
20 minutes.
Oh my god.
All right. So bye everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Wait, I have to pull up the right thing, and I've been distracted because I've been doing this. So everybody gets to see me struggle for a minute.
These
These
are
are those
the fires
behind
that
the
you don't
scenes.
see.
Yeah, it's, as I was talking about, here are my issues. Okay, there we go. All right, bye everybody.